That's Coach Brick's back with another one of the Earth Strong's guys training. This one is on DNA. Now I speak about DNA often, and I'm going to get into a lot more of this because I'm starting up a program geared towards helping people understand how to take back their health. All right, so people talk about, hey, my lifespan is X. I don't really consider lifespan anything. I look at health span. How long is your health? Okay, how long can you maintain the gift that God had given you of life? Free of disease, pain, injuries, all that stuff. Okay. And I'm talking about chronic pain. Everybody has acute pain. All right. You do something, boom. That's natural. That's your body telling you, hey, I did something wrong, boom. But chronic pain should be eliminated as quickly as possible, as well as chronic diseases. Okay. So some of the things that go into DNA. All right. Men have not changed since Adam. They're tracing all DNA back to Adam. Okay. All females is traced back to one person, that's Eve. Now, that's 99.9% probably of our DNAs are some of the same. That zero point 0.1 is where everything changes. All right, that's where I look different than the person next to me and all that kind of stuff. That's where it all changes, is when you get to that zero point 0.1. But the primary part of DNA is the same. And that's why I always talk about it with a lot of people, why men act a certain way, why women act a certain way. Everybody's trying to mix these things together and trying to confuse it. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, people. We weren't made the same. We were meant to complement. That's why Eve was put here, to complement, where man had flaws. That's one of the biggest things. When you try to mix it and say, well, women can do what everything men can do, you're missing the point. The point is not that. The point is understanding males and understanding females. And that's where everybody, because we've gotten so far away from the biblical teachings, people are not putting that together. Or people who do teach biblically, they're not understanding putting the body, the human body into that realm of how God created us. You know, we say we're in his image and likeness, but people forget that when they start talking about it, why we're different. There's a reason we're different, and it goes to the DNA code. It's just what it is. But I wanted to get into some other parts of it here and talk about why we age. All right. So you look at an age. So you look back during the biblical times. All right. Way, way back. So you're looking at like Abraham, Noah, guys, Methuselah, guys that lived 900 some odd years old. All right. Now you're going to say, well, that's just a number given out to people and blah, blah, blah. Okay. We do know that people have lived longer and healthier lives. Okay. So why? Well, it's the DNA. What happens to the DNA? It becomes oxygenized. And when that oxygenation happens, the DNA starts to become shorter. So instead of being a long strand, okay, it starts to break down at the end. The telomeres start to break off and you start to get less and less, okay? And the shorter they get, the more you age, okay? So think of it like this. Take an apple, a real apple, not these sprayed apples that you get all the time nowadays, but an actual apple, maybe either you grow or you get it from a farmer who doesn't spray his crops. You bite into it, put it on the counter, come back 10, 15 minutes and watch what happens. It starts to turn brown. Okay. That's the oxygenation of it. Okay. It's starting to die. All right. It's the life of it starting to be taken out of it a little bit. Okay. You leave it out too long, that area, what happens to it? It goes completely brown. All right. Or eat the apple, just leave the core. Now, I eat the whole core, so I don't leave it out. But if you keep the core, leave that out and you'll see it. It becomes oxygenated. And that's just how it is. Or even a real banana. Eat it after you open it up, have the peel and watch what happens to the peel. It quickly goes extremely brown. All right. That's what happens. It's depletion. Okay. It's starting to lose it. Now, for humans, it's a depletion of the mitochondria as we age. All right. The mitochondria are energies. It pumps us up, gets us going. Okay. So that's one of the things we have to do. But we also have to understand in DNA, we have to start separating health and life, like I said earlier on. People say, oh, my lifespan is 77. Yeah, but my health span is actually 40 because I'm so sick all the time. Or, I shouldn't say 40. I said that's good. But if I'm 77, right, and my health span is reading 97, which I call biological aging, that's not good. All right. That means my body is aging much, much quicker inside. Even though my number outside says a certain, it's what's inside. And that's what we have to start realizing. Um, even though technically we say we live longer now, all right, than we did maybe 50 years ago. And you see the health, the lifespan, what they call lifespan. I don't call it the health span because I think health span, we're actually living less. But the lifespan is longer per se. It doesn't mean that we're living as long as we should. So 77 is why people say that's great. That's not very good when you really think about it. It's not good at all. There's many research that is coming out and saying 120, 150 is where we should be living, where the body has the capability of living. I still think that's a little short. I mean, that's my opinion. But 120 would be great. 150 would be great. As long as we're leading healthy lives. Not 120 and we're chronically diseased for the last 70 years of our lives. So we're just getting by because somebody's pushing drugs on me. Okay. And we'll talk about pharmacy later in um, another short podcast here. But that's what we got to do. Okay. But going back to some of the people that I mentioned earlier in the Bible, why are we not living as long? It's an environmental type thing. Our air is being sprayed, our crops are being sprayed, we're being inundated with chemicals left and right. The human body does not know what to do anymore. Okay. So while it has a great detoxification process for stuff in the old days, the detoxification process is being overrun today. That's why most people get a chronic disease by the age of 55. They get their first chronic disease or diagnosed with it. I think it's 5 or 10 years later, those people have 3 to 5 chronic diseases. Think about that. So you're 65 years old and you have 3 chronic diseases. That means you're on medication for all this bull crap, right? That most of it could be mitigated or prevented if we just do the right things. And I understand it's not easy. I really understand that. So people always think, oh, it's easy. No, oh, you think it's easy. I don't. Because of the crap that they do to us, the governments around the world, all those people that are in control, okay, they think they're in control. We know God's in control, but they think they're in control. Do by spraying and and our produce can't be real produce anymore because you got to spray it and you got these seedless watermelons and seedless grapes. Everybody thinks they're great. I don't get any seeds in. That's the worst thing. Those things aren't healthy for you. They're not real. They're genetically modified. Just like most vegetables are genetically modified. We know that. And that's another topic we got to talk about. But most vegetables that most people eat are genetically modified. Actually, there's a lot of things that we consider weeds that are actually vegetables. And that's what we should be eating. I'll talk about that another time. But those are the type of things. So what you have to do is you have to understand, do you have a detoxification process in your body that can handle all these chemicals? A lot of people don't. I'll be honest, when I took my DNA test, I was very deficient in the one detoxification. Now, there was a supplement that I could take to help me out in that process, but I had to make sure I was taking the right supplement because what most people were mentioning to me to take, my body was not utilizing. Okay, so it was being off. I had to take something totally different. Okay, supplement. And since I've done that, much, much better. My numbers are better. Like I said, I get my checks usually once a year, not blood test once a year, once every 6 months. I like to see where I'm at. I like to see what I do for my testosterone. I'll talk about all these things, all these panels that I do. But this is what we should be doing. If you really want to take care of yourself and you want to be there for your family and you don't want your family to have to take care of you and all these times, then get off your rear end and start waking up to the realization that your health is on you. It is on you. How do we know this? Start get a DNA test. Simple. I'm not talking about a 23andMe to figure out where you're from. That's great. Okay? That you can find your ancestors. Awesome. I'm talking about who you are. It woke me up when I got my DNA test to see how many things that I needed to work on for my cardiovascular health. Because I have one of the worst detoxification process when it comes to my cardiovascular health. I'm a much higher risk. So I got to do certain things. From my brain health, I'm at higher risk for Alzheimer's and dementia. Unfortunately, that's just what I have. Okay, and this is that point one that I'm talking about, not what everybody else has, okay? This is where we all start to separate. But these things we can all start looking into. These are the things that you can start doing stuff now. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you should be getting a test done. You shouldn't be playing around with it. Yes, do you have to spend money up front? Yes, I'm sorry that it costs money. I'm sorry that everything costs money because everybody always complains to me, well, that's a lot of money, Dave. I'm sorry that it's $400 or $500. It's a one-time test. I'm not asking you to do anything, but it's a hell of a lot better than being on drugs your whole life, the last 20 years of it. And don't think you're not going to be, because like I said, the environmental problems that we have are pushing us into these realms. But if I can do stuff to combat that stuff because I know ahead of time what I need to do, isn't it worth it? That's what you have to decide. That's what DNA is. God told us, unfortunately, we can't technically live exactly like God wanted us to in that respect because of what they've done to us. We have to start waking up to the realization of what can I do? What can I do for myself to help me out live a healthier life so I'm there for my wife, my kids, okay, me personally, for my family, so they don't have to worry about me later on in life. I don't want somebody to take care of me later on in life. I don't. And I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want somebody taking care of me. It's my job. I want the Lord and me to take care of me. I don't want to be a burden on anybody else. Do not want to be a burden. All right. If it came to it and he still wanted me to live, then okay. But I want to do everything I possibly can to make sure that I'm not that burden. So I don't want pharmacy. I don't want drugs because none of them have ever cured anything. I don't care what anybody says. They don't cure. They mask symptoms. They might make you feel better a little bit, but they're not getting to the root cause. And I talk about that all the time. So what I'm telling you guys is our DNA is important to understand. All right. I took a course on it. I've looked it up. I continue to do research on this stuff. Reach out. Reach out to how we can help you better understand this stuff. It's so important. It's so fascinating because you can find so many things. All right. I look forward to hear from you guys. DNA, start diving deeper into it. And I'm telling you, we need to do a better job in this society. Stop thinking that, oh, wow, I can go get a prescription and make me feel better. Especially people when they tell me all the time, hey, I have a high blood pressure, but I just take this medicine. Why? Why? Why not get to the root cause of what's causing it? Eliminate it naturally, the way God intended us to. Natural, natural, natural. God's way. That's why I call it God's training. God's way. Have yourself a blessed day, guys. Be blessed. I look forward to hearing from you and take care.